Amen. So the Luna go forward proposal is sitting at 80% yes for the go live of this Luna fork. But is there now new evidence that suggests this could be getting rigged? Yeah, rigged by Kwon and his team. We're going to take a look at what's going on because things just don't seem to quite be stacking up right now. And anybody that's in favor of this move are either one, have some interest in the game, or two, must be really naive to what we're seeing right now. So let's get straight into this, guys. And you'll remember this is the Luna go forward proposal, which we went through in depth yesterday. Now I want to go back to explain how we got to this point, and then I'm going to explain a few things that suggest this is not quite as it seems. Make sure you hit up the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. As always, if you like my perspectives, you got the course member live streams, ijaz.uk/member, where you get 3 times weekly live streams with me and our members only, discussing our portfolios, discussing technical analysis, fundamental analysis, and much more. So going back a couple of days, we had Kwon coming out with his first iteration of the Luna go forward proposal. Now, if you remember, he had 90% voted no in the preliminary votes, okay? But he still decided to push ahead, right? So an online chain proposal pushes ahead, even though 92 voted no in the preliminary poll. So what happened, and you remember we covered this yesterday, is after Kwon saw that that was quite weak, they decided to form something called the Terra, okay, this one, the Terra Builder Alliance. Now, the Terra Builder Alliance sent out that tweet, which we went through yesterday, and in essence, they tweaked the proposal somewhat. And that's the proposal you're seeing here. And again, we go through this in detail yesterday, and I gave my opinion on this, that all this is a bunch of projects with interest, right, with interest in the fork, because they're going to take up to 10% of the new supply. So they're going to have loads of benefit and loads of incentive to go ahead and vote yes, because they've defined themselves as essential apps, right? So if you don't think that's rigged, what is rigged, right? It's not a meritocracy. It's not because the users are saying we want this apps. It's saying these are essential and we've deemed them as essential, and Kwon's basically taking care of his friends who were suffering from the first Luna fork. And look, some can say that's noble, right? These projects are going to have no runway, and they're going to go bust. They're going to go bankrupt if there's no fork. But that doesn't mean that Luna fork is the right thing to do. You have companies going bust every single day. Real companies, real employees out there going bust, right? And the decentralized world is no different. We have to have survival of the fittest. We can't just keep taking care of companies and damaging other future companies. That is called negligence. And in fact, here in the UK, if you're a director doing things like that, where if I have a company and I go liquidate myself and I go create another company just to try protect mine but don't really care for the customers, I could be in breach of my fiduciary duties as a director. So this is not great what's going on. I don't think it's noble as well. We're going to come on to all the different red flags because there's loads right now, and it's just really important that we know what is going on. So that was the first thing that happened. And anyway, they pushed this ahead for a vote, and we can see that the voting is sitting currently at 80% have voted yes. Okay, very important. We've had 40% of the total have voted. So we've had 153 million votes, 123 million have voted yes apparently, and I say apparently, and 30 million have apparently voted no with veto. We're going to come into this in a bit more detail because there's a few nuances I want to go through here, but very important was this article posted by CoinDesk, and what I found really interesting, which I'm just going to focus on today, is 2 aspects. Okay, so the primary challenge the Terra community has against a new fork as proposed by Kwon is trust. So we've spoken about that. Even if Kwon can set up a really good, layer 1 solution and he goes down that route, does a great job, the trust is tarnished. I'm going to come on to again how badly his trust is tarnished right now. As such, Terra needs to approach the fork with all responsibility and make additional checks for vulnerabilities. Now, this is the other interesting thing that comes up is I want to share this bit. Okay, so it's a dilemma for Kwon and Terra's team as they can technically override the community's consensus by either forking regardless of the decision or using their staked Luna to prevent the network from being manipulated to change the voting to support. In other words, and this is coming from Crypto Fund Stable Node, okay? In other words, Kwon doesn't need the vote. He can crack on and go ahead with this if he wants. Really, really important that you understand that. He can go ahead and override this if he wants to do so, okay? Now, obviously, this will be received very poorly by the Terra community, but wider crypto community. However, his team might not have much choice but to do it to better reflect his vision of the Terra ecosystem. Okay, so this is something that can happen. Now, coming back to the voting point, before I go and raise all these red flags, 80% have voted 80% have voted yes. Now, the first thing to note was this tweet here, which I noticed as well, was that when it started, when it launched, there was already 11 million votes, all for yes, which I found very weird. So 3% already started as yes, with no other votes really anywhere else. So I'd love to know what happened there. What was that? If somebody could explain it, maybe it's just something, maybe we're being a bit too pessimistic there. What actually happened? If somebody can tell us, that would be great. And then also coming back onto here, it's an interesting few things to watch. So the first thing to remember is if you just see the bottom here, the quorum is 40%, a pass threshold. So if you don't have 40% voting, then it doesn't matter, right? That you have to re-vote. The pass threshold is 50%, so you have to at least have 50% as a pass threshold, and the veto threshold is 33%. So that's the hope in order to for this not to go ahead, is this veto, which is sitting at 20%, needs to get to 33.4%. Okay, so you're about 14% off there. Now you've got 6 days left before the vote, but you can see well past the pass threshold at the moment, 80% versus 50%. Now what's interesting is you've got a whole bunch of validators here with huge voting power, some of the bigger ones, who are yet to vote. And if you take a look here, Orion Money sitting at 8.65% voting power, yet to vote. Smart Stake sitting at 3.89%, yet to vote. Delight, yet to vote. And you can continue down the list to see a bunch of these, which add up, who have huge voting power, but are yet to vote. Now, you can also see on the yes section who are the ones that voted. And of course, we can go through this and we know which ones are in the Terra Builders Alliance, right, that are supporting this. Now, if we carry on over to here, this is what I wanted to go through. It's got a list of all the key protocols on the old Terra, and it's shown which ones have remained silent, which ones have supported, and which ones are cracking on. So, for example, Anchor, part of Terra, we know that's a huge part of Terra, and they're going to support the new Terra. Risk Harbor has been silent. Astroport is part of Delphi, have remained silent. Terra Support has gone ahead with the Terra Builder Alliance. Pylon, like Do Kwon's proposal. Mars and Spectrum, thinking and considering different options. And then you can go down the list and you can kind of see Nexus Protocol, we saw they support. Kujira building their own layer 1 on Cosmos now. You've got Apollo DAO thinking and considering different options. Edge Protocol has been silent. Soluna is thinking and considering different options. So you can see there's a mixed view here. We know Stada's supporting quite strongly the go forward proposal from Terra Builder Alliance. Same for Prism and Valkyrie. And that's pretty much where we stand right now. Is you've got all these projects. Some are deciding to crack on and move ahead and vote for the project. Others are looking at different options. And some are supporting the Terra Builders Alliance. And obviously the difference is the Terra Builders Alliance is saying we're not supporting Do Kwon per se, but the builders are getting together to put that vote forward. Now, a few things which I just can't get my head around, which, we just need to understand. And the first one is this, right? So we had Terra's legal team resign in the wake of the UST Luna collapse. So if we come down here, we'll see the industry-wide unrest generated by Terra's collapse last week continues to reverberate, this time within the company's own walls. Terra's in-house legal team has resigned, a Terraform's lab spokesperson confirmed to Decrypt today. General Counsel Mark Golditch, Chief Corporate Counsel Lawrence Florio, and Regulatory Counsel Noah Axler all left their positions shortly after the UST collapse, bringing Terra's native token down with it. The past week has been challenging for Terraform Labs, and a small number of team members resigned in recent days, a company spokesman said in an email. The vast majority of team members remain steadfastly committed to carrying out the project. Now, again, maybe there's no smoke without fire, right? That's what I've been taught growing up. There's no smoke without a fire. And it's if any of you have worked with legal professionals before, I know I have, they're people with certain barriers where if they sometimes see something is going wrong, they will just up and leave. And that's a common trend. You've seen this if you read stories of other companies. That is sometimes a big red flag when you see the legal personnel of a company which has had a kind of an event like we've seen with Terraform Labs just suddenly leave. It makes me wonder what is going on. Wouldn't you want to stay in there if you've got nothing to hide to fight through this? And wouldn't Do Kwon be committed to keeping those there to avoid such negative PR and untrust at such a difficult time? So that's the first thing I'd want to pick up is why did that happen? Okay, why did that collapse and what's going on? Moving on, we then had this come out, which is where Terra founder Do Kwon faces $78 million fine for tax evasion. Yes, South Korea are chasing him for tax evasion. So again, look, Do Kwon can't just take 6 months out, a year out. He's gone to absolutely zero, right? If what's happened is true and he's got nothing, he needs to go and do something. One, he's got to do something for the protocols, right? The projects are going to go bust. But also for himself as well. If he's got all these bodies coming after him, 78 million in taxes from South Korea's National Tax Service, he needs to go and get some more cash. And the easiest and quickest way for him to do that is this lunar fork. And you want proof in the pudding? Look how quickly he wants to launch a new network. 27th of May. That's 8 days. You've just been through a disaster, and in 8 days you want to launch. Now, look, I understand from the protocol perspective, he doesn't have time to do it, right? It's a necessary evil, he needs to launch. But in order to go and set yourself up a good project, you need time to reflect, right? You've been through a difficult period. Go reflect, figure out what went wrong, come back with a better solution. You don't just suddenly run into a fork. So it makes you wonder when you see things like this. Obviously, we then covered off the fact that he's been summoned to a parliamentary hearing in South Korea as well. And we saw that a whole bunch of exchanges were acting sketchy around the time in Korea, some reducing trading immediately, others taking many days. Again, this is something people will want to get to the bottom of. We covered off this fact that 11 million votes were already in. And then the final thing I want to share is the plot thickens. And this was a really interesting piece which showed leaked documents show Kwon dissolved Terraform Labs before the collapse. Now, again, if true, this is another huge, red flag for us when trying to build our trust around a certain project. Terraform Labs in Busan was dissolved on April the 3rd and liquidated on May the 4th. The CL branch was dissolved on April the 30th, liquidated on May the 6th. Luna was trading down. Okay, so this all happened before the attack on the weekend. Makes you hugely, what's the word? It makes you, wonder what is going on. Why would you dissolve a company a couple of days before? Again, if there's an innocent reason, Kwon, come out and tell us. Don't allow us to take these and come up with tinfoil ideas, right? Why don't you come out openly and start rebuilding that trust? You're so focused on pushing through this new proposal when you've not come out, you've not given an AMA, you've not given an interview, you've not done anything. Come out, transparency, show the counterparties for the 3.5 billion in reserves which you spent, close that chapter, talk openly about why Terraform was dissolved, talk openly about all these issues so we don't have these concerns. But instead, you're just hiding behind this proposal and trying to push it forward. And we know technically you can override and do it anyway. But what's going on? I don't know how people can support this right now. I mean, it's just a clear Ponziception going on where you've got Kwon trying to create a fork to bring across the victims from his previous failing Luna 1 across to Luna 2. And then maybe he does it again and creates a Luna 3, right? It just does not make sense to me. Too many things, too many red flags, too many things going on for me to be able to get on the horse and back a project on a new chapter. And for the developers, I understand why they would want to do it, right? They've got no choice. It's not because they love Kwon. Right? You imagine you're running your protocol, you're running one of the dApps on Terra, and one day you get wiped out. You've got staff, you've got team, you've got family to feed, and now Kwon rings you, say, "Oh, don't worry, we'll make you right. We're gonna fork it, and straight away you're gonna get airdropped this amount, and you could pay your bills." Cool, you're gonna do that, right? As opposed to the stress of, okay, I need to move across to Phantom or Solana or ADA or Polygon or VeChain. That's gonna be a headache. Can I move to Cosmos? I'm gonna have to shift the team. We've also then not got enough money. Okay, fine, maybe Cosmos or Phantom will give me a grant, and I can. It's a headache. Instead, you go Kwon. Yeah, all right, make us right? Because he's gonna add the airdrop straight away at Genesis. They're gonna get money. Right? So you've got to think about it from these perspectives. So there you have it, guys. There is the update. It looks like this vote will go ahead. Looks like Kwon is pushing it through. But like I said, is there something more nefarious going on? Time will only tell. And when we do find out the truth, then hopefully we can close this chapter and move on. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, don't forget to smash up the like button and subscribe. As always, if you appreciate my content, consider checking out the course member live streams, ijaz.uk/member. We have another course member live stream today, so do join up and join us in there. I'm going to now link up the video to yesterday's video explaining exactly what this new proposal, which looks like it's going to go through, means for every Luna and UST holder. So make sure you go over there, watch that, so you understand exactly what's going on and you don't get caught out. See you in the next